cyberbullying in schools appears to be on the rise. The latest victim, of course, Lufuno Mabunga, she took her life after being assaulted, allegedly by a fellow pupil at her school. We're just speaking to Linda about her memorial service. But what triggers this type of behavior in our children? What can be done to help those who are struggling? Our reporters, Silindelo Masikane here in Johannesburg, Nobesutho Hejana in Cape Town, and Lethiwe Mdluli in Durban, have been looking into this issue, and let's speak to them now for more. So, Lesedi's story has encouraged those who've been victims of bullying to speak up. Just tell us about Lesedi.
Well, Lesedi is actually someone who has gone through an experience in high school as well as growing up of bullying, and she thought that it was important for her, especially now with this case of Lufuno, to actually voice her experience and give others encouragement in terms of seeking help and speaking out before it's too late. You know, those that I've been speaking to who've suffered bullying are saying that you shouldn't suffer in silence, that there is help, and that if you just seek it, then you will get assistance. Let's take a listen.
Good day, I am Lesedi Natani, and today I'm here to speak about the recent incident that I'm sure we all know of that has already happened in SA, where a student called Lufuno has committed suicide due to bullying. Because I've had my personal share of experience due to bullying, I think it's time that we educate our youngins, we educate people in general, because I feel like bullying happens everywhere, even though we can't see it, or even older people can't. I think it's time that we educate people about what it causes, what it does to a person, and the consequences you're going to have to face after that. Bullying is a very sad thing to do. It's a very dangerous thing to do, because you don't know what that person is going through already, or you don't know how that person reacts to situations. So it's so important for you to watch what you do or say to people. And for the youngins out there and people who are bullying, just being bullied in general, I think it's best that you talk about it. I think it's best that you don't keep quiet about it. It's always best to talk, because there's always someone out there that's willing to help you. So I think it's always best to talk about it. Don't be afraid.
All right, Nobesutho, I'd like to bring you in, because you actually spoke to parents, and as utterly traumatic as it is for a child to be bullied, or for anyone to be bullied, for parents who might not know the full extent of the bullying or who feel helpless, it's a particularly difficult situation to be in. Tell us about the conversations you've been having today.
Well, Sally, I spoke to two parents actually today, and they were telling me that sometimes they feel helpless because they don't know how to assist their children. They want to act on it, but they also need to consider that the other child or the other person who is a bully is also a child who has parents. So they were telling me that it's frustrating, but they try by all means to assist their children. And I spoke to Shamila, who was telling me that her 15-year-old child was abused by, or rather was bullied by a schoolmate. They took pictures about her eczema, and it was shared amongst friends, and it went viral on the school's social media. And the child ended up in hospital because she had anxiety, and this is what she had to say.
She was hospitalized for about 3 days. At first the doctor thought that it was an appendix, but then initially they thought that was the case, and then it was resulted due to anxiety that she was suffering with. That the doctor basically said it was because of what happened at school, because we had to disclose it. It was an immediate attack on her physical appearance. The message that was sent out was about her eczema. It was put on social media. It was shared amongst most of the grade 9 classes and friends. And it affected her because it was shared to her via a friend, and she asked them to please remove it. She was in tears the entire weekend. She had withdrawn herself, and she's not an introvert. She's an extrovert. She loves people. She loves being around people, and it impacted negatively on her, not only school academically, but also personally, emotionally. It affected her.
And these are just traumatic events. They would be traumatic for anyone of any age, but particularly a teenager who is emotionally fragile. It is probably something that stays with them for life. Lethiwe in Durban, you are actually with a family whose son has been bullied. What have they been sharing with you?
Well, Sally, I'm actually joined by Sharon Jensen at the moment, and she's going to share her story about the bullying that her son has faced in school. I'm just going to start speaking to Sharon. Sharon, we have been speaking about the issue that your son has been facing in school, which is bullying. Can you please just share with us what exactly happened?
Hi. My son's name is Jedlin Jensen, known to everybody as DJ Jed. And he goes to Fairvale Secondary School in Wentworth. And he's currently doing matric at Fairvale. But the second week of school in 2021, when school came out at 2 o'clock, when Jedlin left the premises, he was attacked by a group of boys. They had attacked him and aimed for his head. And he managed to get away. And we had taken Jedlin, we had been to the police station to go and open up a case, but when the cops had seen the severity of his injuries, that he was disorientated, they advised us to take him straight to the hospital. So we took him to St. Augustine's, where he was admitted for 2 nights by the neurologist because of the brutal beating that these bullies from Fairvale Secondary has done to my son.
And you've been telling me that you actually went to the school after this incident and tried to talk to the teachers, but nothing happened.
Yes, the only thing that has happened, we went and we did speak to the principal. These children were suspended for 2 weeks. My son, doing matric, is not at school anymore. He's unable to go to school. Reason being, he's not safe at school because the school is unable to protect him. So he cannot go to school, but all these children that were involved in his assaults are currently still at Fairvale, doing their normal stuff, going about their normal lives.
How has this affected you as a family, and also how has this affected your son?
It's very, very upsetting. Currently, as I said, Jedlin's not in school because he's not safe at all. Jedlin's currently in Newcastle. When he does come back from Newcastle, he's going to have to go and see a psychologist to speak about this, because definitely, psychologically, what had happened to him is not good. Us as a family, it's taken a toll on us. I still find myself crying at times when I see children walking in school uniforms and my son is unable to go to school. My son's unable to put on a school uniform and go sit in a class and do an exam, all because of bullies. Something needs to be done. It's not fair. It's not fair that these children are going about their normal lives and my son can't. My son was supposed to matriculate this year. He's got a bright future. He's a bright young man. Now he says to me the one day, he says, "Mommy, am I a high school dropout?" I never ever thought I'll hear that word coming out of his mouth. Something needs to be done.
And you were telling me that this is actually not the first incident. Similar incidents at the school have taken place, and in some cases, there's been a murder inside the school.
Yes, plenty. As I said, if you'll do your investigations, there's quite a few things that happen at Fairvale High. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of most of the parents in Wentworth. We all want our children to be safe. People's children are not safe going to Fairvale. And I always say, at the end of the day, for all the future children, all the primary school children that are going to be going to high school, parents must ask themselves, are our kids going to be safe going to school? Something needs to be done. There's no security at the school. When the children come out of school, there's no adults at the gates to even make sure, even if your child's jumping into a car, There should at least be people over there to make sure that the children are safe. There's nobody. Our children are not safe going to school.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Coming back to you, Sally, you heard yourself some of the problems that the school is faced with, and also for this 17-year-old to be out of school during a matric year. The mother is just sharing how difficult it's been for him mentally, and also how difficult it's been for the family as well.
Absolutely, Lethiwe, and I think I can understand his mother naming him, naming the school, because there seems to be a shame to being bullied. Children so often don't want to speak about it, but actually, once it's out in the open, then no one can say they didn't know. And I just really hope that, as that mum says, something is done and is done properly. There are just too many cases of bullying in our schools, perhaps a reflection of our violent society. We live in a very violent world, but it is high time. And thank you very much. Please thank the mother for speaking to us. That is Lethiwe Mdluli in Durban. Thank you as well to Silindelo Masikane in Johannesburg and Nobesutho Hejana in Cape Town. Not easy conversations to have, traumatized children and parents, but thank you for bringing those important stories to